as James Dean is walking right down here. Life mask cast from James Dean face, made by Warner Brothers. I'm going to show you a picture right in this spot, right over here. You can already see.
Oh, one or two.
Where?
Well, I showed pretty good at Palm Springs. I ran a Bakersfield.
Nobody thanks you for sticking your neck out. Except to yourself.
Wait a minute!
Accept yourself.
You don't want me to go?
No.
Alrighty guys, we're going to start right here at the Birthplace Memorial of James Dean. Then we're going to head over to Fairmont, check out all the sites that were important in his life, and then pay our respects at his grave. So you don't want to miss today. Come with me. Alrighty, it seems only fitting that we start right here at the 7 Gables apartment complex where James Dean was born. It was right over here. Now you can see that there's a plaque here dedicated to this site. American actor James Dean was born on February 8, 1931 in the 7 Gables apartment house, which stood at this site. He starred in 3 major motion pictures: East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and of course, Giant. Now, James Dean died on September 30th, 1955 at the age of 24 in a traffic accident on a California highway, and he was laid to rest at Park Cemetery in Fairmont, just 10 miles south of this location. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, we are going to go to the cemetery. We're going to go see some important sites in James Dean's life, but it is only fitting to start right here. Now, this is where the 7 Gables apartment house stood and where he was born. You can see that they have James Byron Dean, born on this site, February 8th, 1931. I'll scan the area for you. And we'll take a look at what the other side says, because it talks a little bit about the time of day and about his parents. Now it's right here. It basically says he was born on this site at 2 a.m. on February 8, 1931, and he was the only child of Winton and Mildred Dean. They lived in Unit 8 of a 2-story, 4-unit apartment house that stood right here on this location. Now the family moved to nearby Fairmont, Indiana shortly after Jimmy was born, and then when he was 5 they relocated to Santa Monica. Now when his mother died at only 29 years old, 9-year-old Jimmy returned to Fairmont, where he was raised at the Winslow Farm by his aunt and uncle. Now Jimmy went on to attend Fairmont schools. He was an average student, but upon graduating Fairmont, he returned to California and attended Santa Monica City College and later UCLA, where he was a theater major and performed in a production of Shakespeare's Macbeth. Now his first on-screen acting job was actually a Pepsi Cola commercial in 1951, for which he earned $30. He got bit parts in several films, but he strived for more important roles. Now when he went back to New York City and did some Broadway, his second Broadway play, he was spotted by a director, well-known director, and flown to Hollywood to star in East of Eden. He went on next to star in his iconic role as Jim Stark in Rebel Without a Cause. And then his third and final film was the role in Giant. This is the site. Now, it's really interesting to see the site where the 7 Gables apartment house sat, where young Jimmy Dean was born. But let's go and check out more James Dean sites. Alrighty guys, our next stop is, of course, Fairmont, the hometown of James Dean. Let's go check out his hometown. Alrighty guys, here is the James Dean Gallery in Fairmont, Indiana. We're gonna go check it out. This is a personal collection of James Dean artifacts and memorabilia. And I hear it's very interesting. Let's go see what's there. Oh, it's a huge shop too.
Whoa.
Hello.
Hi.
Check. This is their personal collection. Actual photos that were used in the 1942 and 48 Fairmont school yearbooks. A birthday card given to a friend from a young Jimmy Dean. Pretty incredible to see that. The story of James Dean. Oh, there's photos. Of course, the speeding ticket. A copy of the speeding ticket on his way to Salinas. From Nicky Bazooka. Legendary at the James Dean tributes. There you see a newspaper article from the death of James Dean. Look at that. East of Eden. To Carol, my very best, James Dean. East of Eden. Note from Rebel co-star Corey Allen, dated 1958. Oh, and there's a jacket worn by Richard Thomas in the 1977 film September 30th, 1955, to represent Dean. Oh wow, it goes all the way back. A reproduction leather jacket made by Schott Brothers. Here you have Carter's Motorcycles, of course, where he bought his first bike. James Dean. And a business card from Carter's Motorcycles. And here's all kinds of correspondence. The James Dean Fan Club, James Dean Worldwide Club. It really is mind-blowing just how much they're able to collect and keep. Now this brings us into another shop area. With glasses. And they have a screening room here as well. Oh, that's a really cool pillow. James Dean, Fairmont, Indiana. There's postcards of some of your biggest stars. Elvis Presley. You can see posters of James Dean. Here's a little screening room that shows James Dean.
Since when? Since
Rare TV appearances.
I love you, Jim.
Neat. The comic books are $3 each, and there are some
These ones? Oh.
look at that one.
Ooh.
Life mask cast from James Dean face, made by Warner Brothers for the production of Giant. 2 chunks of concrete on the floor below are from the gas pump island at the Sherman Oaks gas station, where James Dean gassed up for the last time. September 30th, 1955. And there's a replica of the soapbox car. That, of course, is in that infamous photo. Wow, that's so neat. Oh, check that out. Personal effects of CHP Officer Ron Nelson. Officer Nelson was the first one at the scene of the accident on September 30th, 1955. A tragic, tragic day. An oil change notice postcard mailed to James Dean. 1541 Sunset Plaza Drive. Right there in West Hollywood. How many times have I gone up and down Sunset Plaza Drive? Incredible. Oh, look at the fan club magazines. Just pretty incredible to see some of this. Alrighty, does this spot look familiar to you? I believe these were footprints at one time, but if you look here, and I'm going to show you a picture, right in this spot. This is the spot where James Dean was walking and stood. Right there with the bank. And it is a one traffic light town. So there's your one traffic light. And of course, there's James Dean on the window and an old Cadillac. Is that a Cadillac? I think it's a Cadillac. But it's an old car. Hudson Wasp. Alrighty, let's keep moving on. Alrighty guys, we couldn't come to Fairmont and not see where Jimmy bought his first motorcycle, Carter's Motors. It looks identical on the outside. Now the whole inside's been redone because it's a car club now, but this is the original Carter's Motors. James Dean purchased his first motorcycle. Isn't that incredible? Even when you look at the building, nothing's changed. They've kept the outside. The same. Now it's a car club now, 9th Street Gang Car Club, but the actual building on the outside still looks like it did. There's the Indian Motorcycles sign, sales and service, and you can see right beside where it says Indian Motorcycles, it says Carter's Motors, because that's what it was at the time. Alrighty guys, pretty cool to see that now. We have more to see, but to think that that is where James Dean hung out, purchased his first motorcycle right here in this building is kind of neat. Hasn't changed. Alrighty, let's move on to another site. Alrighty, there's a cemetery there, but not the one James is buried in. But there is another site right here because we're between the Winslow Farm and we're between Carter's Motorcycle. This is the church where James Dean and his family would attend service. Like I said, we're just down the street from the Winslow Farm. We're not very far. But a young James Dean and his family would attend church right here. Now this church is a smaller church and wasn't able to handle his funeral. They needed a larger church, but this is the church where James Dean attended service regularly. right here in the middle of Indiana farmland. Alrighty guys, let's go to another site. I think you know where I am now. If you know the history of James Dean, we are right here at the Winslow Farm. This is where James Dean lived from the age of 9, and where so many memorable photos or iconic photos were taken of him on the farm. I can just picture that right there. There's a photo of Dean standing there, and you see the barn in the background. In the far driveway, you see a photo of Dean standing at the end, and you see the porch and the house in the background. But this is the Winslow Farm right here. Just incredible to think the years that Dean lived here and all the memories he must have made here. Now, Dean's younger cousin Marcus still lives in the farmhouse that's here, and it's right over there, but they had told me earlier that if I came down and I used the large driveway, they would be okay with this. And it's just incredible to think that this farm is where James Dean spent so many years. Now, Park Cemetery, the motorcycle shop, all those things are really, really close to here, but just when I look at the iconic photos that were taken at this farm, even of him pulling his little cousin around, you see the buildings and they haven't changed at all. Now, there was some areas where there's a rock wall, where the rock wall is not as prevalent now, but it's pretty surreal to see this. This is the Winslow Farm. Look at the old gas pump right there. Right here, this barn is featured as James Dean is walking right down here. And you see the barn. In the background. And to think that the Dean's relatives still live in the farmhouse that's over there on the property. And you see that some of that rock wall is original from when Dean spent his time here. But incredible. They have beautiful horses out here, and it is a working farm. So we're not going to go any further back, but pretty surreal to think of the time that James Dean spent on this property. And like I said, some of these structures haven't changed at all. This is the Winslow Farm here in Fairmont, Indiana, where James Dean grew up. And I can see why he would love it here. It's really, really beautiful, peaceful. Hey guys, we have to go check out another site. As much as I don't want to leave the Winslow Farm because it is absolutely beautiful, peaceful, we have more to see. Let's go check it out. Alrighty guys, we are at the Memorial Park where they have a bust of James Dean. Let's check it out. We're right beside a gas station, but look straight ahead. There it is, right there. There is a bust of James Dean. Now, the plaque just talks a little bit about Dean and about how the artist, Kenneth Kendall, started working the night that Dean passed away. But that's it right there. The inscription from ancient Greek reads, "Summer was only beginning." Alrighty guys, now when James Dean's body was brought back to Fairmont, they couldn't hold the funeral at the church that James Dean and his family attended because it would have been too small. So they moved it here to a church right behind me, right there. That's the Friends Church here in Fairmont. And that's where the funeral of young James Dean was held, right there. Now you just imagine at the time of the funeral how crazy all these streets are, knowing that one of the biggest icons is going to have the service right here in this church, but all these streets would have been filled, and it was right there. Alrighty guys, now it only seems fitting that now we head to the cemetery and pay our respects at his final resting place. Let's head over and check out the grave of James Dean. Guys, we are at Park Cemetery here in Fairmont, Indiana, and we're gonna pay our respects at the final resting place of James Byron Dean, James Dean. Now, it's a large cemetery, but we're in the right area, we're in the right section, and right over here, you can already see, right here, is, of course, the grave of his family, the Winslows. There's Marcus. Of course, James was raised at the Winslow Farm. And there's another Dean grave here, FLM and Winton. And there's James right in between. James B. Dean, 1931 to 1955. Now you can see what people left. They left the little prince, coins out of respect, the duck, the James Dean comb, and of course stones. And then people have written on this rock that have come here to visit. And we're right here in this part of the cemetery. Now, James had participated in other racing events, so at the end of that September in 1955, it wasn't out of the ordinary for him to participate in another event. But, of course, when he was traveling to that sports car racing competition at the junction of US Route 466 and SR 41, Dean tragically lost his life. Pretty incredible to see that though, right? The final resting place of James Dean. Now, I had put a stone on there earlier out of respect. I'll put another stone right now. You can see it right there. That's the final resting place of James Dean. So young, wow. Now I'm really glad that you guys came with me today to check out the James Dean sites that were important in his life, and going all the way back to his birth location. It was pretty incredible to retrace those important places in his life. But hit that like and subscribe button below. We'll go on a lot more adventures. I always like to say life is like a book, and I want to read it with you. Until next time, guys, from Park Cemetery here in Fairmont, Indiana, it's your friend Chris. Peace.